This is Actualize Freedom, straight talk on growing clicks and conversions on Amazon FBA from people doing it every day. Now here's your host, digital marketing acrobat, Danny Kenji Carlson.
What's up, guys? Danny Carlson here, host of the Actualize Freedom podcast, and today is going to be a really interesting one. If you're into Facebook ads and running external traffic to Amazon, you've probably seen this guy. If you've shown any interest in this guy, then you have most definitely been retargeted all over the internet with his ads, because that is what he is an expert at. So You've probably seen his face somewhere around.
I beat you into submission, so.
Oh, absolutely. I've certainly myself, I've seen probably somewhere in the order of 60 or 70 of Ryan's ads throughout my Facebook and Instagram travels. But I'd like to welcome to the podcast, Mr. Ryan Rigney. How's it going, Ryan?
Great, Danny. Really glad to be here. Thanks for having me on the show. Looking forward to talking with you, your audience.
Excellent. So for those of the audience who have not been bombarded by your ads yet, just give us a little bit of a background story of, how did you become the Facebook ads expert, the Amazon external traffic expert, so to speak?
Yeah, so I guess we all kind of start out not knowing about a topic. Originally, my origin story is I started selling over 3 years ago. It's probably like 3.5 years ago is when my first product for my current brand went live on Amazon. This isn't my first brand though. Actually, I had some issues before my brand that I'm doing right now. I actually sold a silicone baking mat that completely failed. That was my first venture into selling on Amazon. And I learned a lot of lessons from doing that. And really like the main takeaway lesson that I learned from failing epically with that product was I had no access to an audience. I had no way to contact people with advertisements. When I had a product on Amazon, I had no way to really boost it at that time. So after that, I took a couple months. I studied around. I tried to figure out how e-commerce companies outside of Amazon are promoting their brands. And I just thought, why is no one doing this for Amazon products? I wonder if driving traffic from outside of Amazon would benefit my brand. So the first product I had for my current brand, it did pretty well. It did well enough that I could, pay myself like $100 a day, for example. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it wasn't a failure. And that cash flow allowed me to experiment with additional traffic sources and different ways to, boost my rank from like number 6 to number 3 to number 2. And this is like back in the day when nobody really was doing any of this kind of stuff. Like I'd maybe heard of one other guy that was using Facebook ads to promote their Amazon sales. So what I did was I learned from people that were doing it outside of Amazon, and I sort of reverse engineered that and I applied it to my Amazon business to be able to control my rank and my sales in a different way than other people were doing at the time. And really, back at that time, there were a lot of these giveaway services. They're still kind of around here and there. But back then, that was really the only way anyone knew how to promote products and get them to rank. You just had to plug it into one of these services that just gives it away for them. And I didn't really like that model because I like having an audience and contact again and again. And also those services, like they don't give you the ability to get reviews in any way. So there were like 2 hurdles that I had. I wanted to get an audience that I could call an asset, and then some people that I could consistently contact over and over again to promote new products. And I wanted a way that was a systematic process to get reviews without breaking the terms of service. So what I did was I learned how to use Facebook ads to do that. And just in the last couple of years here, Facebook unlocked the ability to market to people using Facebook Messenger. And I was, I think, one of the first, if not the first, like public person to talk about using Messenger to get reviews and launch products. And it's really like taken off since then. Maybe a lot of people have never heard of me because I've sort of been in the background, but I know for a fact I was one of the first, and I started advertising my course because I wanted to teach people what I was doing, because it wasn't out there in the market. Like I had to learn it on my own, so I wanted to share it with other people. And that's kind of like what brings me to the public stage, even though I never thought I'd really be here. So.
And what was that like going through the process of learning the Facebook ads and learning Facebook Messenger and everything like that? Like you said, you're kind of at the forefront of that, using Facebook Messenger to enhance Amazon reviews and sales and everything. So it's not like there's all these courses out there like there is now to teach you how to do it. What was that process like? Like, were you just spending money and wasting a ton of money and then finally something clicked, or how did you figure that out?
There's always a little waste while you're refining and making the process better. Like inventing the wheel's a lot easier than using it, I guess. So I would have to think, like, what is it that Amazon allows in terms of reviews? So like they prefer reviews coming from people that bought after a certain time period. So you can't have them leaving a review like 2 days after they purchased and they just got a discount on Facebook. So the rules have changed a little bit. So like it was a little easier like 2 years ago than it is now. But back 2 years ago, there wasn't like this real thing of unverified and verified reviews. Like that's a fairly like recent thing. But back then I was like, okay, so I need to get a sale, and then I need to follow up with them, and I need to get them to leave a review without incentivizing them. So I would think I can use Messenger, which has like a 90% open rate. It's gone down a little bit since then, but it's about 90%, on average, compared to the Amazon email system, which, goes like 15% to 40%, depending on how clickbaity your email is and the day, I guess. But when you compare 90% open rates to 15% open rates, like you can get a significantly larger number of reviews by contacting people in Messenger. And not only that, like you can contact them again and again. You can follow up. You can tag people based on actions they take, which is a lot more, I guess, advanced than what we were doing just on Amazon, which is good. We should still be doing that. But you have to kind of think, what do I want to do ideally? I want to follow up after 14 days. I want to ask them again a couple hours later if they did the action. And then if they did that action, then maybe, I want to use this customer database for my next launch. And then I've got a proven list of reviewers that I can just contact. So building up an asset and learning how to do it without any guidance, you just have to think about it. It takes a lot of time.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. And I think I can probably tell what you're going to say to this question, but to really clarify it for Amazon sellers, because sellers are constantly told so many different traffic sources, different ways of doing things, and there's just too many things to focus on unless you have a really massive team, right? So what would you say if an Amazon seller had to choose just one external traffic source to help them out on Amazon? What would you recommend they do?
90% of the time, I would say Facebook, because Facebook is very easy to learn. I would say there's a massive number of people ready to buy stuff if you position it in front of them in the right way. And Facebook also allows you to use Manychat, which is like a Facebook Messenger application that's it's really unrivaled in the ability that you can have to follow up with customers and get them to take actions for you. So I would say, because of the reason that Manychat integrates so easily with Facebook, and Facebook has such a large user database, like if I were a new seller, I would learn how to do that first. But there are exceptions, like some categories of products like can't be advertised on Facebook, so it's a little bit trickier. And some people don't have the budget to advertise. So in those cases, there might be other methods they might want to consider, but I won't go into those here.
Yeah, and so you're basically saying, like, wherever your audience is, like some audiences are not on Facebook, like Facebook is the majority, but there just are some products that, like, hey, these people are not hanging out on Facebook, we should go where they're actually hanging out.
Yeah. Like example, if you're selling a weapon or a restricted product, you're going to have a hard time pushing that on Facebook. Those are easy examples I can think of. But
yeah, people looking at their family members' pictures, they don't want to see an advertisement for a gun or a shuriken or something like that.
Yeah. Even things that you wouldn't even think are restricted, sometimes they just are, like hardware tools, things that could be used as weapons. There's weird classifications you just have to be aware of. It's really great for things that are more impulse purchases, like things that people need on a daily basis, like they would just buy on impulse. Like larger ticket items, like if you're trying to sell like a pressure washer, for example, might be a little harder to get that to go on Facebook. But in most cases, Facebook's the best way, I would say, for new sellers.
And so let's talk about that. Let's say that someone listening here has a higher price item, like there's a friend of mine who sells very overpriced items. They're like, a couple $100, and they weigh, they're probably about 4 foot across, 2 foot tall when they're actually made, right? Very heavy to ship items.
Yeah.
Have you seen good strategies on Facebook ads for selling those products? Yeah,
it takes a lot more work on the front end to really convince. You have to convince that cold prospect to trust your brand, and then convince them to take action. So it's not, and you're at the same time, the seller's not going to want to discount that severely because they're going to lose a lot of money. So you have to do a more tricky strategy where you're, for example, doing like a listicle type article with like, if you're doing like a pressure washer, like top 5 ways to clean your driveway using without using chemicals, for example, and you could like your pressure washer, and then you could retarget people that read that article, for example, with your product, and maybe like a smaller discount with maybe like some sort of scarcity in it. But it's more of a involved process, I guess, because they're taking someone from a high ticket item to a purchase generally takes more touch points. They have to know who you are. And it's harder to find people that are ready to make the purchase right then, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, and more complexity too, right? Because then you're talking about, you have to have some kind of blog post or some kind of a video or something to guide them through that process, and the average seller might have a hard time actually figuring out all the different funnel pieces and putting them together. So maybe let's talk about a more simplistic example of how you'd use Facebook ads combined with the messenger to get the results you want on Amazon.
So just like a general launching strategy, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, just so like if someone wanted to build a list to launch a new product on Amazon. Yeah.
So I mean, the first large hurdle people have is getting like their initial reviews, because I really always tell people you should at least have a couple of reviews before you launch. So the thing a lot of people struggle with is, how do you get like your initial 5 reviews if you have none, you have no social proof on your listing? What is going to make someone want to buy your product even at full price? You don't want to just give away a bunch of like 90% off discounts like right when a listing's fresh, and then try to get those people to leave reviews. That's going to be a problem. It's going to raise flags. So, there's ways that you can get around that. One way that I call is like I call it like the sweetheart deal, where I get them to buy something. It's like a reduced price, but it's still full price. There's no coupon applied to it. There's no promotion. And in exchange for them buying that at full price, they can get some sort of other benefit, like, for example, complimentary product, multiple items of the same thing that they just bought. So if it's like a fish oil supplement, maybe you give them 2 more fish oil supplements for free after they confirm they bought it. And that way it's a full price purchase. You could follow up, get those initial reviews. So that's one example of how you can use like Facebook ads to quickly get reviews on a product without getting it flagged and without running into any issues. After you do that, then you can do, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but basically you create a simple video ad that displays your product, what your offer is, maybe shows a little bit of social proof, has a call to action on it. And the goal of this video is to get them to take action quickly. And the standard method people use is like the CPR method to launch. They get a certain sales velocity over a period of days. That sort of method still works. It works better on Messenger. Buyer quality is higher. You have access to them later. Generally cheaper as well. So it's basically a video ad targeted to people. You get them to opt in. You deliver the incentive, like the coupon code, over Messenger, and then you follow up with them to increase the chance that they purchase.
Yeah, and you mentioned something interesting there, which is generally cheaper to launch with Messenger than, let's say, a launch service. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, once you figure out how to do it, the first one might not be cheaper, might be slightly cheaper, but once you get it down, you figure out what you're doing. You know how to make a video ad that works, doesn't cost much. You can get Messenger opt-ins for 20 cents, 30 cents. about 1/3 of those people will buy if the offer is good enough. So you can launch it pretty cheaply. And really, the longer you run the ad, the more people that opt in, because they'll share the ad on the groups, they'll share it with their friends. It sort of can go viral after a couple days even. So it doesn't cost much really to do that.
That's excellent. So that's a really good gold nuggets for you people there who are good at math. 20 to 30 cents per opt-in, and then about 30% of those opt-ins making a purchase. That'd be a good thing to calculate too, a good benchmark to go up against what you're doing with your Facebook ads. I mean, so obviously, Ryan, it's going to be a little bit different in the beginning phase when you're still figuring out your Facebook audiences and what kind of ads really resonate with those audiences. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And also the Facebook platform is changing. I'd say it's getting slightly better, week over week. The way that you target people has really changed a lot in the last couple of months here even. Previously you had to really narrow down exactly what type of person you want to target, but Facebook's gotten smarter. You can actually make those audiences larger now and let Facebook sort of identify a subset within like a 5 million, 6 million segments, and they can actually do a better job than you oftentimes. Awesome. It's getting easier.
Yeah, quick question on that too. I know one problem that a lot of people new with Facebook ads run into is they will just turn on a campaign and they see that it's not performing, and then they just like shut it off. It's like, oh, this is not good. But I mean, Facebook, the algorithm needs a little bit of time to really figure out who is going to be able to, who they should show your ads to, right?
Right.
So what would you recommend, like as a minimum ad spend on a brand new campaign to allow Facebook's algorithm to figure it out?
Yeah, so I would start, if you're doing like a launch, it really depends how many units you need to give away. So say you need to give like, 25 units away per day. You might just want to set your campaign to like $30 just to see what sort of traction, what sort of messenger cost per message you're getting first before you make any other decisions. But $30 per day, run that for a couple days with like 5 different ad sets. Different audiences within those ad sets. So you're gonna test different targeting options against each other for like a 3-day period. Give it a little bit of time to like figure out what's the best audience, what demographic is converting at the cheapest rate. And after 3 days, you can go in, you can analyze which audiences are doing the best, turn off the ones that aren't performing, and then you can look at the ages, the genders, the placements, see which ones are performing the best, and you can even narrow it down further like that. So it's just a matter of letting it run for like 3 days, which is kind of like what you're saying, giving it a little bit of time to orient itself, figure out who it's speaking to and what type of people are engaging with it. And then you can slice the data and narrow it down a little bit from there.
Yeah, definitely super valuable information. And speaking of super valuable information, I know one of the biggest questions that I'm sure you get all the time, Ryan, is how to use Messenger and Facebook ads to get more reviews on Amazon. So maybe just give us an overview of the best strategy that you have seen for that.
The best strategy, I mean, there's quite a few out there. I mean, from targeting past customers, I mean, there's ones that are slightly gray hat, or some would say black hat, that you can use, uploading past customers and entering them into a contest, for example. Getting them to leave a review after they enter into a contest. That's one way that a lot of people are using. Another way I mentioned earlier, the easiest way for like new products is like that sweetheart deal incentive, where you give them a great offer with bonuses after they confirm that they purchased, and then all those reviews, they're not incentivized because you're giving the bonus item or items, whatever it is, regardless of whether they leave the review. And actually you're giving those before they do as well. So following up with people after you give them a deal like that, they're much more likely to say good things about you because they're happy with what sort of transaction just happened. They pay $15, they get like $40 worth of value. So that's a good way to like get your initial reviews. Over the long term, like product inserts help a lot, obviously. That's probably the most effective way to get your past purchasers to leave reviews on Amazon. But as far as like just from people that you're targeting off of Amazon, like, giving them those incentives up front is probably the best way.
Awesome. And yeah, Ryan left us a very good little video piece on his take on product inserts. So that's going to be released on Kenji ROI's YouTube channel. So guys, head over to YouTube and subscribe to Kenji ROI to check out Ryan's take on that, as well as a few other influencers that we reached out to. Let's just dive a little bit more into the one that you mentioned where you are giving the customer an item, but it's not incentivized. Can you explain a little bit about that and why it is not an incentivized review?
Sure. So you're giving someone a good deal and a bonus after they confirm that they've purchased. So you're not incentivizing them to leave a review. I guess you could just say you're incentivizing them to purchase, which incentivizing a purchase is just marketing, right? So basically, it's not an incentivized review because you're not saying I'm giving you this bonus in exchange for a review. Your review is not contingent on this bonus that you're getting in any way. Even if you don't leave a review, it doesn't matter. You're still getting the items. So there is like an art in wording it. Obviously, you don't want to word it in a way like, we're going to send you these bonuses. Could you leave a review first? You don't want to say something like that. You're just gonna say, we're shipping you the free items, and then after 14 days, it's a separate conversation. You say, did you like the item that you purchased? How did you feel about it? And then you get them to leave a review from there. Does that make sense?
Awesome. And so to really break this down for everyone here, this is past customers that you're targeting. You've uploaded your list of past customers to Facebook Custom Audience.
That's a separate thing, but the other thing was just an incentivized purchase, like on Facebook. It's like a Facebook ad. So that's not actually past customers, just to clarify.
Okay, so it's in one bundle. You're taking a brand new customer from Facebook ads and getting them to purchase your product on Amazon, and immediately they're getting the bonus too. That's kind of your offer, right?
Yeah. Within Messenger, you just say, did you place your order? Could you just send us your order ID to confirm that you did that? And then when they confirm that they did, you can ask them for an address and say, where do you want your bonus sent? Like, if you're selling like a cutting board, for example, maybe you send them like a little knife bundle as a bonus or something from your website. It can just be a completely separate matter, a bonus just for them letting you know, like, I made this purchase, and you can ship it to them separately.
Awesome. And not that I recommend anyone would do anything Blackhat when it comes to review manipulation. Obviously, that can get your account banned very easily. But for the people listening out there, can you give them an idea of what people are doing right now when it comes to getting Blackhat reviews using similar methods?
What are people doing to get Blackhat reviews?
Yeah, so like just purely incentivized reviews, because there's a lot of big supplement companies out there that are doing things that you could pretty much 99% say are Blackhat ways of getting reviews, and they're doing it in very large numbers, right? So just so people are aware.
There's like that company that had the FCC lawsuit brought against them, right? Is that what you're referring to? There's a large supplement company that had like a multi-million-dollar judgment against them for paying an agency to just consistently leave reviews on their products over the last several years. I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to.
That's not what I'm referring to, but so anyone who's really interested in this, I would recommend go purchase off of maybe the top 5 sellers on Amazon for supplements, and you'll see like there's some things there. They have product inserts, for example, that would get someone onto a list in exchange for like, hey, we're going to give you a free bottle, and it'll specifically ask them for their order ID in exchange for like leaving their review. It's like, hey, like, have you left your feedback yet? We're going to send you this free bottle if you paste a screenshot to the feedback you left. And that would be Blackhat.
I totally should have taken your cue there, because that's exactly what I talked about on the video I sent to you. So I guess I just forgot that I mentioned
that. No worries.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Awesome. So in your opinion, just to be clear, you do not recommend people do stuff like that?
It's risky. It definitely depends how you do it, of course. It can cause you to say, we're going to send you a free item just by entering in, on the insert itself. If you say get a free item, it could cause issues. I mean, technically it's kind of like a gray area on the terms. There's a lot of people doing it. I've spoken with some people that are, selling in the 8 figures that I released this video on my YouTube channel actually talking about this exact strategy, and some people aren't very happy that I did that. So they obviously don't think it's safe either. So it's really like up for debate. I think a lot of them still do it. I know some of them have adjusted their strategies since I talked about it on my channel, because I actually did buy a couple of these products and I wanted to reverse engineer what they were doing. So yeah, touchy.
And
a bit of a touchy
totally.
subject.
Yeah, and I've talked with a few sellers who are using this strategy, and it's always the kind of thing when you ask them straight up is like, hey, do you think that this is like TOS safe? It almost sounds like they're trying to convince themselves that it is TOS safe when they explain it to you, you know? So it probably it's not TOS safe. I think it's pretty safe to say that. And also, Ryan, so if you're building an audience, that's something that's pretty foreign to Amazon sellers, and for the most part, right? You don't get to have the audience unless you build your own email list or your list on Facebook Messenger, for example. So how do you really nurture this audience so that you can use them over and over again? And like, give us an example of what it looks like to nurture an audience, and then maybe you're doing some product launch and then you're nurturing them again.
Yeah. So for me, after I get them to opt in for any sort of promotion I'm running, they're pixeled. And if your audience isn't familiar like with what a pixel is, it's like a Facebook tracking code that allows you to target this person over and over and over again, which kind of explains like why some people watching this have probably seen me a million times, like on their Facebook newsfeed. You've been pixeled, or you've watched some video of mine, and then I can retarget you for generally 180 days. That's the general rule. But basically, the way to nurture like an audience. So for me personally, I don't hit them with a lot of content. Like I don't spam them over Messenger. I don't use Messenger as like a way to slam their inbox like every week. I don't think that's really the purpose of Messenger. I think email works a little bit better for that. Providing value over email, like top 5 ways to do this. Here's a new workout guide on how to use this product, for example. The thing that I personally do is my niche is like very like aesthetic based, I guess, so people like looking at ideas on how to use the product. So I have an Instagram channel. My virtual assistant posts once per day. Pictures, generally like 50% of the pictures are like people using my product, and then we give ideas on how to use it. So we're posting once per day, and then those Instagram posts, they're going onto our Facebook news feed as well. And if I think it's a good post, sometimes I'll just kind of amplify it with like an advertisement to my existing audience. And because a lot of my products, people buy a lot in my line, they don't just buy one, because I've got a line of products that's all kind of like targeted towards the same type of audience. So they see the other products in my line on their news feed, used in creative ways, things that it looks nice, and then this builds like brand recognition, brand loyalty. They tag their friends, they share it, and then they buy from the other products in my line. So that's one way, just like getting a consistent process that posts content, and then you amplify it with an advertisement to people that are pixeled.
So when it comes to actually sending message broadcasts to your subscribers, you don't like to send them content related stuff. You'd prefer to just boost a post and have them see it as a Facebook ad, as opposed to sending something to them on Messenger. In
rare cases, I'll boost it with like Messenger for my e-commerce business. Like for the other one, like if I have like something that's really useful, like a new tool that's free, for example, I'll broadcast to everyone and I'll send it to them. Or if I have a new video, I'll send it to them. And it's kind of like, I don't do it for my e-commerce business unless I have something like really useful that a lot of people will want. Because if you abuse that audience, they can just unsubscribe and they're gone. So you have to be very careful with how you contact them and when you do. You want to do it within hours that don't annoy them, for example. You want to always give them an option to get out of that message when they receive it. You want them to, when they receive it, be like, I'm glad that this is intruding on my inbox where all my friends are messaging me, right? So if you sold like fitness equipment, maybe like a free workout video or a free workout series that they would generally have to pay for, like that's the type of thing that I would send to them. But I'm not going to send them like, check out our new product, you can buy it at full price, for example. I don't want to just slam that in their inbox all the time. But if I have like something that's a really great deal and I want to launch something, get traction, like a loyalty discount or something, then I'll send it to them. but you have to be very careful, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. So is it safe to say that you're only really sending messages to your subscribers like once every couple weeks, once a month, when you're launching a new product or you have some promotion coming on?
Yeah, it's probably like once every 3 or 4 weeks. Just kind of, so like the buyer cycle for me is like they'll buy products like once every month and a half, for example, because like I sell supplements, just to be straight up with you. So I know that like every month and a half, like I want them to come back and buy something or try something new. So I don't want to hit them every 2 weeks, but I want to keep my brand top of mind. So they're going to be seeing advertisements every once in a while. And then, periodically they'll get a message from me. And I also will send them an email like once a month, for example. But really email, I could be more aggressive with that and email them like once a week. That would be fine. I just haven't really built that out as much as I should have. But I know a lot of people in my space do that.
Absolutely. So that is very interesting too, because a lot of people, the reason they don't start building this audience is because they have no idea how to nurture this audience. And from what you're saying is you don't really have to create a bunch of value messages throughout the messenger thing. You can just have this audience, and as long as you're maybe boosting some valuable posts that you're putting out there and you're staying top of mind in other ways, they can see you all over in other places of the internet, then when they get that message from you, they're still gonna take action on that.
Yeah, that does help. It does also help like to make content. Like I'm not gonna say that it doesn't. So if you make like, I just keep going back to like fitness because it's the easiest niche to explain. Like if you make a new fitness series, you might make a blog post about it and then send traffic to that blog post to sign up. Or you just might release the video on Facebook and like with a short snippet and then say at the end, you can download the whole series for free, go to our website and opt in. So these are ways to like build value and also build brand recognition. But you don't, like I was trying to say, you don't want to use Messenger like every week to like slam them with stuff because they're just going to get annoyed. Facebook ads like in their newsfeed are less intrusive. So, as many of you know, like you've probably seen me 500 times, but for some reason you haven't clicked like ignore my ads because it's not that annoying that you want to ignore me forever. Maybe you want to think about it later, right? So it's kind of like that. But in the difference between like e-commerce and something like what I sell, like it's a different price range, right? So I can afford to spend more. So you have to be cognizant of that as well and what your customer value is.
Totally. And this is all, we're starting to talk about some very advanced stuff too. And one thing that I really see a lot, Amazon sellers that I talk to, especially newer sellers, or even sellers who have reached that 7-figure level and, they've had some success, is a lot of them are very overwhelmed by how complicated Facebook ads can be. It seems like one very simplistic, like it's one platform. I just got to figure out Facebook ads. It's one thing. But in reality, it can be a lot of different things, right? It can be you got the email and you have the Facebook Messenger aspect of that built into there, and then you have the Amazon aspect, obviously, right? So, in your opinion, like where should someone start to learn about all this stuff? I know that you have some good resources on this.
Yeah. If you want to learn from me directly, I have resources, or there are other free places you can get started as well. I'm obviously going to say, I have the stuff consolidated down into like stuff that's specific to Amazon sellers. But if you want to like just learn like the basics of Facebook, they have a free Facebook blueprint course. I've heard it's not very good, but you can learn how to set up an ad, like how the ad platform works at a basic level. And that's, I think it's called the Facebook blueprint course. For Messenger, there's also a free Manychat course where you can get like the basics of what Manychat is and how to set that up. You can go to manychat.com, they can sign up for that. The easier way, obviously, I would say is, I've been doing this for a couple of years. I've taught several hundred people to do this. They've gone, from not knowing how to do it at all to launching products, passing 7 figures. I've seen several do that have enrolled in my course, started at 0, have gone to over 7 figures a year, just using, the strategies that I do, building out the listings the way I do, amplifying the products the way I do, using Facebook and Manychat. That's what they do. So I have a resource. I think, should I share the link or did you want to do that?
Yeah, what is the link? And I'll put the link in the show notes as well. But just for people who are listening with their fingers on the keyboard, just quivering, waiting for waiting for where to go right now.
Yeah, so I have a Facebook group. So the free Facebook group is facebook.com/groups/amazing funnels. So that's AMAZING funnels, FUNNELS. So that's a free group. The stuff where you can learn, like I have an hour training session where you can kind of see how I do things like at a broader level, where I don't have enough time to go into that depth here, but that's you can go to my website, www.masterywithryan.com. So that's mastery, MASTERY, with WITH Ryan, RYAN.com.
Awesome, man. And my last question for you is, what trends do you see emerging in the space of Facebook ads and Facebook Messenger for Amazon sellers in the next year or so?
Yeah, so trends, I see the Facebook ad platform being easier to use for beginners and more forgiving. As far as Messenger goes, I do see Messenger rates slightly dropping. I think Facebook might start to gradually crack down on our ability to contact people more and more. So really getting into that space now is going to be your best bet. You're going to want to get those subscribers now while it's still super easy to do that. And it's easy to contact people because they haven't cracked down on our ability to contact these customers yet. Like we can pretty much send them broadcasts whenever we want with no oversight from Facebook. Even though they say there are rules on it, they don't seem to enforce them. So you might want to get on that before they start cracking down and making it harder and harder for people to do that. I think it's always going to be around. I think messenger marketing is the future. Like we've seen this really take off in China, for example. Like a lot of e-commerce occurs over WeChat, which is the Chinese messenger app that I'm sure Danny probably knows about, since I think he's over in Indonesia now. They probably use that. So WeChat, a lot of people buy stuff on WeChat, and I think Facebook Messenger is a similar type of thing. It's gonna be a lot of e-commerce happening on there, and learning it now is very valuable if you plan to do this for any period of time.
Awesome. That is super, super valuable, Ryan. And one last kind of point I would like to make for the audience there is that, so Ryan just mentioned, like, yeah, Facebook's probably in the future going to be cracking down on things and they're going to be a little bit tighter and more strict, but that's actually a good thing because it's going to stop marketers from ruining Facebook Messenger, because marketers completely ruined email, and that's why a lot of emails end up in spam boxes and people don't check their email anymore because it's just blown up with crap and spam. But Facebook, it's a good thing that they make it stricter because they're not going to allow it to turn into the same mess, because you can imagine how annoying that is going to be if you have the same thing as your your email inbox showing up in your Facebook Messenger pinging you all day long, right? Facebook does not want that. They're never going to allow that to happen.
Yeah, that's exactly why I don't abuse my audience like that, because I know that people won't appreciate it and it won't be effective. So I'm very cognizant of when I contact them and what I'm sending them, So you're absolutely right on that.
Awesome, Ryan. Well, thanks for joining us. That was just packed with a ton of value that I know the Facebook nerds out there are going to be diving into for a while to come here. Guys, check out his stuff at masterywithryan.com. And if you want to check out the show notes, go over to kenjiroi.com/blog and check out the show notes and any of the resources and links mentioned over there. And until next time, guys, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
For show notes and resources mentioned in this episode, visit kenjiroi.com.